recruiting class right now, as you alluded to, 13 signed. I would assume that there's more work to do, and we're going to see some signees that first Wednesday of February.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of in-state guys that they're looking hard at right now. Travante Citizen, who's a running, excuse me, who's a running back from Lake Charles. Jacoby Matthews, a five-star safety from Ponchatoula, who that's going to be a heavy SEC battle. That's going to be A&M, Alabama, Florida, and LSU. So we'll see what happens there if Brian Kelly can make some headway with those in-state guys. You know what's going to be interesting too, though, Mark, is of course in this class they're going heavy in the transfer portal, and they're far from done there. But when Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame, he had to recruit nationally, right? I mean, in the current class that he had recruited, the 23 prospects that he had committed at the time he took the LSU job were from 18 different states. Now, if you're at Notre Dame, you got to get on a plane and fly to go recruit kids. At LSU, you take a drive across the Atchafalaya Basin, 45 minutes, and there's Walker Howard, the #1 quarterback in the country. You take a 3-hour drive to Neville, and there's Will Campbell, 5-star #1 offensive tackle in the country. You go 5 minutes from LSU's campus, and there's Emory Jones, a 4-star interior offensive lineman from Catholic High. It's the inherent advantage that LSU has that maybe only one or two other schools in college football have, maybe Georgia and Ohio State, are being the only Power 5 in a talent-rich state. And with respect to Georgia Tech, but they're just playing a different game than Georgia is. Louisiana per capita puts more kids in the NFL than any other state per capita. It's stunning. I mean, you mentioned Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Those guys played high school football 45 minutes from LSU's campus. And Brian Kelly knows he can tap into that. It's going to be interesting, though, in this class in particular, to see, as he puts the finishing pieces on it, how much of it is the influence he had at Notre Dame recruiting nationally, how much of it is finishing off this class with kids from Louisiana. That's going to be an interesting storyline to watch.
When this transfer portal really started to hum about 1.5 years ago, the moves typically made sense. And we'll even isolate it down to the quarterback position where, okay, I can see this guy's got too much competition. He's going to go there. He's got an open spot. Boom. Now it's become like your guess, like, why is he doing this? So Max Johnson leaves. He threw 27 touchdowns with 6 picks, and he leaves an SEC, one of the top 5 programs in the country. Sure, he goes to one of the emerging top 5 programs of the country. I get it to a certain extent. So he leaves. Now Miles Brennan decides to come back,
right?
Which I got to think might be connected to Ed Ogeron's dismissal, or him just seeing, hey, I'm going to be coached by one of the best in the country. So your evaluation on Miles Brennan and what the quarterback job could look like coming up.
Yes, I think Max's departure, while it surprised a lot of people, you say, why would a starting quarterback leave? I think Max Johnson was I don't think he was. He was just very frustrated all season. The offensive operation was a mess. Think of it. He came here and then COVID hits. He comes here after the 2019 season. And then you have the COVID year, which was a disaster. And LSU had a lot of cultural issues internally with the George Floyd racial injustice marches a year ago. I mean, that was another thing with Ed. I mean, I don't mean to keep going back to Ed, but he handled that very poorly internally, and you had a lot of division in the locker room and among the coaching staff. You have a losing 500 season. You go into 2021, second offensive coordinator in as many years for Max Johnson. The offensive operation was a mess. There were so many times you could see Max Johnson looking to the sideline, hands in the air, saying, "Hurry up! I need to give me a play." And I can understand why he was frustrated. And then you have a new coach coming in. You don't know who he was going to hire as an OC. I kind of get it from Max Johnson's standpoint. His dad, Brad, played at Florida State. He was very familiar with Jimbo from his time there at Florida State. I didn't like it, obviously, but I get it. Miles Brennan left because he's waited his whole career to be a starter, and it didn't look like it was going to happen here. And he needed to go to a place where he could play. And as soon as Max Johnson left, it opened the door for him to come back. And so Brian Kelly had a conversation with him and said, listen, I need to go get a quarterback. I'm going to get one out of the portal, or you can come back. And so Miles Brennan thought about it for a day and decided he's going to come back. So that would be a great redemption story. And it's so rare in college football that the guys wait their turn now at quarterback. And Miles is one of those guys who did. And when he got his turn, he had 2 really unfortunate injuries. It would be a really great story if he could stay healthy in 2022, start and have a really good year.
If you're into prorating stats, and this is a bit of a stretch, but considering that Joe Burrow had the most prolific touchdown mark in the history of college football with 60, and then Miles Brennan threw 12 in 3 games, so he was on pace for a 15-game season there. Of course, that's a bit of a stretch. By the way,
still. With Steve Ensminger as his offensive coordinator. Okay. And Joe Brady of the Carolina Panthers. So, but yes, Brennan, they were slinging it, man. And LSU's got receiving talent. And Brennan can sling it. There's no doubt. It's just experience is the question. He's played he started 3 collegiate games. So he's been around a while, but he hasn't started a bunch.